In Wenell management, we strongly believe in 4 values that guides us both in our internal development initiatives, also when we give trainings, and definitely when we have developed our latest version of the project model. We believe in simplicity, scalability, flexibility, and iterative work. My name is Nyman. In this short video, I will give you an overview of the content of the project model and also pinpoint some of the news in it. We have tried to make it more agile friendly, built-in tools and ways of working inspired by agile principles a lot, and some other new stuff. So let's take a look at its content. This is the main screen of the model, and it contains support for both, as we said, projects, assignments, and tasks. So the main parts for each categorization, we have a workflow, and the workflow contains information about what to do in each phase, the phases and the gates, description of that. Roles, that is more like descriptions for each role in the project. We can build upon that and clarify, for example, what the project sponsor is supposed to do, what a steering committee or a steering group does, the project manager, and all those other roles. We'll dig into that a little later. Also, we have documents like templates for different important documents in the project. Both available in Word format and in Excel format. And one of the big parts of the model are the tools. So that contains descriptions about how to do different elements of work. Come to that later as well. But we talked about scalability and simplicity. So in order to achieve that, we think it's a good idea to assess each initiative and thinking about how to manage and how to execute that initiative. Some initiatives are smaller and simpler. We call them tasks. We have medium-sized assignments and a little larger projects with higher complexity, longer duration, more risks, and so on. So one of the kind of guidance we provide as an embryo, of course, each organization needs to find their way, their criteria, how to steer towards tasks, assignments, or projects. But we have a couple of guiding criteria in a simplistic way to avoid over bureaucracy, to try to tailor the application of the model based on how complex each initiative are. So tasks, low uncertainty, short duration, assignments, a little more complexity. We need some kind of formal starting point as a gate, and also a gate decision to close the project when it's done and delivered. And in projects, longer duration, more people on board, higher complexity, and more risks, and probably more costly as well. So greater need to reassess the project along the way, therefore the need for more stages and more gates. So let's check then the workflow of projects. So you can directly access each of the categories clicking in this illustration. And also, all the illustrations are clickable, so it's easy to navigate around. So, the different stages are described in a simplistic way. How to pre-study and assess different options, how to continue with this initiative. Does it make sense at large? The rough picture to get some input to the next important decision in G2 to decide whether or not to proceed with this idea. And prepare it a little more in depth. Then when we have done the preparations, done our planning to realize the project, preferably using successive deliveries. So we have built in a lot of agile thinking in the model, being inspired by Scrum, for example, in those smaller iterations or increments or sprints as it's called in Scrum. So we think that's a great way to be inspired by agile principles in most projects, I would say. Closure phase and a utilization kind of description of the post work of the project as well, to getting to the business objectives. So that's the workflow. The roles, we have an illustration here, a kind of collaboration map between different roles. So each role is described in a way like this. So main work areas for each role and a little more in-depth information about the important roles. So both the steering group and top management and resource owners, reference network, customer user and the receiver role are described in this way. As a base, you can always tailor this, but this is something to build upon. Next section is about templates. So in order to simplify how we document things in the project, we have like two main templates. One for the project sponsor and the steering committee. We call that the project strategic plan, containing information about the business case, the decision at the gates, how to handle more large changes along the way in the project, more like strategic changes, etc. And we have one document with a number of subheadings also in the project operational plan, more for the project manager and the project team. So the charter we can find here as well, and operational plans, near zone planning in the iteration plans, status reports, decision logs, etc., etc. So if we go back to the main screen again, all this information and that kind of structure also available for assignments, the medium-sized initiatives, same principle here. Tasks, even simpler, not specific need for formal gate decisions, more like a verbal agreement with maybe the task manager and his or her closest line manager in their role as the task sponsor. But again, simplified version of the structure. Then if we go to the tools, here we have those how-to descriptions for the project. So we think in the early stages, it's important to prepare in an iterative manner. So a lot of focus has been spent of iterative work now, starting maybe with the understanding of the need behind the project. So who are the key stakeholders and what are their expectations and needs? To understand that and build upon that, try to clarify what results to deliver. And based on that, what work is ahead of us, what work needs to be done, how long will the duration be and how costly will the project be. To plan a little more in detail when we have secured resources, we have a better understanding of who will do what and the dependencies between activities and so on. But iterative work, we need to go back to the need and clarify that and along the way, especially in the early stages, to work this way. To understand the background and current status, to spend some time to prepare the project, hopefully strive for an iterative approach, to learn along the way and use that learning as we go, to plan more in detail step by step. So that's a good approach. And also it's a good approach to think about how much shall we include in the project. So different options or different directions for the project. Is it enough to do some things? Or do we need to do the full solution, or also to analyze what will be the consequence of doing nothing? So not always to do those large projects that will be very costly and time consuming, and the circumstances around the project and the project environment and their needs might have changed a lot since we started the project if we have really long duration projects. So this we think is really important to analyze before we continue. And also to think about how shall we treat this project? We spoke of flexibility as a kind of key guiding star. So sometimes when we have a little more control of the project, we have done similar things before, the complexity is somewhat lower, then we can kind of describe the objectives for the project using a waterfall approach and steer towards those objectives. When the complexity is higher, we a lot of new stuff, maybe new technologies, and maybe it's a new market or a new customer. If the complexity increases, maybe to go more for an integration driven or definitely I would say an agile approach. So a combination of steering towards the objectives, but also being humble to the fact that we don't know everything. So maybe a more detailed approach per like sprint towards that sprint objective, but on the large part of the project we don't have all the information needed. So an iterative approach, successive deliveries, to deliver continuously, to receive feedback, to have short feedback loops, to hopefully get the most value out of the resources we spend in the project. And in some occasions, for example, when complexity is very high, like in research projects, to use a more exploratory approach, to learn along the way, to test some hypothesis that we have, to build up a knowledge base. It's really tricky in those types of projects to clarify exactly what to deliver in the end of the project. So projects are different, and we need to have some flexibility when it comes to choosing the development philosophy. And I will not bother you with all those details, but we have a lot of support for stakeholder analysis, for how to develop the project objectives and the business objectives and all that play field in the project charter that we speak of. Maybe to prioritize using a Moscow technique, like what's must-haves, should-haves, could-haves. We have a lot of support for visualization, to use the strength in pictures and picture-like constructs. Some more stuff about clarifying the roles. We also saw the roles, the descriptions of them in that earlier section. How to manage the environment and stakeholders and communicate and handle the project stakeholders in some, maybe differentiate a little about how to handle them. We have a lot of support for planning, also to manage uncertainty, like risks and opportunities, and also understanding the complexity domain of the project and choose techniques for uncertainty management according to that. Realization, a lot of support for that, and also how to close and how to utilize and measure the business benefits of the project and so on, also available. And lastly, we have tools for leadership. So some easy tools for example, to understand how group dynamics work, how to manage meetings in a good way, etc. So there we have it. A simple approach. It's really easier to tailor, to have your look and feel on it, maybe to change some wordings and so on. So we use this model as a base for how to tailor-made a project model based on your organization's needs. Okay, so that was a short overview of the latest generation of the Wenell project model, supporting both tasks, assignments and projects. It's really easy to tailor, so we do a lot of development work with our customers to merge the Wenell content with input from that organization. So it's quite easy to develop a tailored project model that we also are glad to help you implement, to train people to get benefits in your projects. Thanks for your interest and welcome to contact us if this sounds interesting.